Welcome back to Building with Jim. Most of our project ideas come from questions asked in the RC Universe forums. During some recent discussions, I expressed my opinion, I often express my opinion in there, that the CA hinges we commonly find in the ARF kits these days won't hold up for more than a year or two. CA hinges are simply thin, flexible plastic. The life of a CA hinge is affected by two factors, age and use. Now, there are some other factors that expedite this, such as oils, nitro in the fuel. They can cause plastic to become brittle, lose its flexibility. Then they'll split at the flex point. To me, CA hinges are a built-in expiration date for an RC plane. And that's my opinion, but it's a good one, I think. After a lively discussion, one of my friends in the Giant Super Sportster thread, checked his Giant Super Sportster, found that indeed some of his CA hinges had failed. They'd split right at the flex point. He asked what the methods were used to install the pin hinges. Well, today we're going to install my favorites, the Robart brand. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do with your pin hinges is not put them in the model, not put them in the holes, not anything. They have mold release on them still. So, take a little bit of denatured alcohol, plastic jelly jar, and let them sit there for a couple of minutes. Once you've let them sit there for a couple of minutes, you take them out of the denatured alcohol. I just like to use a regular fresh paper towel. You can use rags, whatever you like. The most important thing is to get the mold release off of them. Right now I have a fan gently blowing across, a small fan, to dry these out. And they'll all be dry. Now they're all good to use. We want to increase the surface area so that they stick better, so that the glue sticks to them better, so that they hold better. Got some extremely heavy sandpaper here. And what I'm doing is just, giving it a pinch and a twist. Notice how rough it is. Notice how smooth that one is. The rougher one will adhere to epoxy better. Probably one of the most important things to remember before you start is, before you install Robart pin hinges into your model, make sure your model has been ironed. You don't want to be trying to chase down the wrinkles on a working edge after you've installed the pin hinges. It's just a big struggle. Make sure that you get an iron, stretch those wrinkles out of there, get that iron down flat. If you don't want to do it to the rest of the surface right then, sure, hold off on that if you want. But on the surfaces you're going to be working with, make sure they're ironed so you don't have to be chasing them down later. This is the Great Plains Super Stairman wing, and it came with the CA hinges. We're replacing them with the Robarts. So what you can see is that I laid tape directly down through the center of the slices that were made for the CA hinge. We can work right through that slice, but we're going to be working between two pieces of tape. And that's on both sides, the surface and the wing. I'll explain why. When we're working on that, we're going to be getting epoxy everywhere. Well, afterwards you can peel this tape off and peel the epoxy off. Well, you could lay tape across, but then you've got to figure out how to cut that tape out because it's only coming out one side or the other. You're not going to be able to pull it through, especially if you've gotten a good tight fit and you don't have any visible gap. There you go. Slice here of tape, and you got to slice right down the middle. When you peel it off for your epoxy later, you're going to have a nice clean application. You can see what I've done is we have taped both sides right up to the slot, and I've also put some tape on in a manner of hinging just so I can see how it lays, because what I want to do is, because it's a pin hinge, this little pin has to go directly straight from one side to the other. When I can, I try to keep the hinge from being in the center of the actual original slot. And there you can see two nice sets of dots that are lined up exactly. And that's what you're going to want. That's probably the most exact part of what we're doing here. What I do next is kind of unusual. I cut across with an X-Acto knife on each mark. That zeroes that spot for cutting in and working on. The same here.